According to the Minister for Finance and Planning, Philip Mpango, the government of Tanzania plans to spend about 15.14 billion US dollars in the 2020-2021 financial year that starts July 1st. Earlier, we spoke to business analyst Sammy Awami for more on this.
Obviously, for ordinary Tanzanians, they're expecting the kind of budget which will, make their lives easier. But again, for business people, the banks and other business people, they're expecting that the budget, will reflect or will assure them on making business, more easier, economic stimulus and things like that. So depending on who you ask, but generally people expect something that would, boost the economy, and especially at this time of Corona.
Now, the pandemic has led to massive job losses, but in Tanzania, everything continues as a business as usual, with the increase in budget spending. Yet, when you look at the global economy, it's expected to decline. Won't you say that this is a bit too ambitious for the country?
It is ambitious. You can say that it's ambitious, but like you pointed out, Tanzania is a bit of a different case, and particularly because the country or the government did not shut down business or the economy completely. For instance, like Tanzania did not have any forms of lockdown or curfews or anything. So many businesses continued as usual, even for those businesses which they had to advise their staff or their employees to work from home. It wasn't any government directive. So in many ways, Tanzania is different from other regional countries. So of course businesses were affected because of course we are not an island. So some businesses were affected because obviously of what is going on around within the region or generally around the world. But in many cases, many businesses continued just as normal. But there are certain sectors, for instance, like tourism. Tourism was affected very much because most of our tourists are coming from outside the country, and international passenger flights were stopped. So tourism industry was affected very much. So apart from tourism industry, the rest of the rest of sectors actually continued just as normal. So it is different, and maybe that could be one of the reasons why the budget, we haven't seen that much big difference, for instance, in terms of budget allocation. There is an increase of that, and it could be because the government perceives that the business has been going on not as completely as normal, but in many cases it was just as normal. So that could be one of the reasons why. But I've also been hearing from other from other sources that there was quite an increase in terms of tax collection from previous financial year. So they're saying maybe that could have helped to inform the government, that to increase their budget allocation. Of course, with regards to the pandemic effects to the economy, we will probably find out the full picture maybe in the coming 2 or 3 months. But at the moment, one, they're banking on the fact that the government or the country did not, completely shut the business of the economy. But second, from the previous, tax collection, the government collected, there was an increase in tax collection from previous financial year.
Yeah, you've touched on tax collection. Now, I was just going to ask you, what are some of the areas that the Treasury is looking at to get the money from? Now, tax will be one of the key areas, but what are also some of the other areas when you look at, since a portion of it will be sourced domestically?
So because of these times are different, like the worldwide, the economy has been affected very much by the pandemic. We have seen the government opening up the tourism industry quite quickly. And many people believe that that is the government target. That's what I think the government is hoping, to end, much of the budget portion. We know that tourism is one of the top, countries, and it is actually the biggest foreign money in for the government. So that's why we've seen that it has opened that industry very quickly and tried to promote it as much as possible. So that obviously will be, the biggest source for the government. But we're also seeing a lot of these infrastructure projects. That is also another area which the government, is hoping. But also in terms of agriculture, we've seen, for instance, the projection is that they want to strengthen the agriculture sector as much as possible in terms of export and stuff. And this opening of our airspace is also part of it, so that the government could continue to export, to export crops from Tanzania to other countries, whether within the region or outside the government. So I would say it will be mostly from tourism industry, agriculture, and from the infrastructure projects that the government is undertaking.
Is this year's budget reflective of President Magufuli's industrial economy plan ahead of the next presidential election?
So some economists have described this more of an infrastructural budget, more than industrial budget. Now, you could argue that obviously the infrastructure, you cannot have the economy without the infrastructure. All these things are very connected. But we know, for instance, we have infrastructures such as the construction of Stigler's or the Standard Gauge Railway, which is about 1.9 billion US dollars. We have the hydropower project, which is about 2.9 billion US dollars. So these are massive infrastructure projects, just two of many other big projects that the government is undertaking. So we have seen, or we expect, because the budget will be tabled shortly with details. So we know that much of the budget allocation will be on these two projects, because they're like probably the flagship projects for this government. So it's more of an infrastructure project to make sure that the government finishes this project at least by the end of the next 5 years, when hopefully we'll have another election. So it's more of an infrastructure project than an industrial project, really.